I'm just going to read a part of the first chapter for you. It has 5 chapters, and the first chapter, I dedicated this book actually to my wife, Parisa, and to my daughter, Riva. So the first chapter is Parisa. I was standing under the shelter of a tall mountain. It was August 2021, exactly 20 months and 8 days since the crime took place. I have traveled far to reach this mountain that others consider beautiful. From Toronto to Sault Ste. Marie, then to Thunder Bay, and on towards Winnipeg. From there to Regina, and finally to the small town of Canmore that is located in the heart of the Rocky Mountains. It must have been about 4,000 kilometers. It wasn't hard to believe that I had traveled aimlessly for thousands of kilometers to stand before this gray mountain surrounded by heavy fog and tall trees. A storm was rumbling deep within me, and a fire was burning in my heart that I doubt will ever subside. I was looking for them along the way. I would turn my head towards the passenger seat so I could see her like I always did. I would reach behind towards the rear seats and curl my fingers, which means, give me your hands. And she would put her hands in mine. It would have been an excuse to respond to a feeling I had, or something either of the two might have said. But both seats are empty. Other than the wind whirling past the car and the weeping clouds, there was nothing for me. I cried, I screamed, and from a certain point along the trip, I was unable to listen to the signs. I even lacked the concentration to stop along the road beside the lake and stare at the scenery. I just drove and drove until I could get lost somewhere. Further south of Canmore, there was a mountain road full of trees that I tried to avoid. The people, children, the tourist atmosphere. I was avoiding anything that seemed crowded and joyful. The day before, at the small sandwich shop, I felt breathless, staring at the young man's hands wrapping the sandwich so he can finish the damn thing and give it to me. I know what takes my breath away, how it happens, by hearing which words, sounds, or sensing which tastes. It could grab onto me at any moment or anywhere, but after finishing the sandwich in my hotel room, I thought I must get out of these walls. Staying at the hotel was useless. It wasn't a cheap hotel, and it felt like I had to stay in that room forever and look out of the window aimlessly at the mountains, the people, and cars. The Alberta forest fires over the last few days had filled everywhere with dust and smoke, and there wasn't even a distant scenery to sit and stare at. After finishing the sandwich and my decision to leave that hotel room, I finally left. The town was nearly empty of people. Whoever was visiting the town had other plans other than to roam around these streets. Some of them were professional mountaineers who would leave early in the morning with their gear. Some of them were foreign tourists who wanted to visit Banff, probably to take pictures in front of the beautiful lake. I don't know because I have never been there, but it seemed as if some would stand in line so the person in front of them would finish taking pictures so they could stand in front of their camera as if they are the only ones there. I have seen enough of these things in my life. I've observed scenes like this in many different places around the world. In front of the Eiffel Tower in Paris, where people would crowd around so that despite the commotion of the street vendors and the skilled painters, someone would take your picture with you alone. In front of the Charles Bridge in Prague, when hundreds passed by, or the Sheikh Lotfullah Mosque in Isfahan, with the echoing sounds of horse carriages. In the forests of northern Iran, during the 13th day of New Year, clusters of picnicking families filled the silence with their roaring laughters, or the Tobermory Lake in northern Ontario, where it is not easy to take a picture alone in front of the pure blue water. There were others beside the mountaineers and tourists, like sailors with their boats, large families, or that couple from Ontario sharing a cigarette, who probably signed up on some nature tour before their vacation days expired. There was a confusing intersection in front of the hotel with separate traffic lights for pedestrians and cyclists would signal for turning right or going straight. I waited beside 2 girls who were lost inside their warm overcoats. My outfit wasn't that appropriate. Neither my shoes or my coat was useful in the cold mountain town. I followed the same paths that I had planned on the map and wandered about for some time. I couldn't stop and look into any of the art galleries. I couldn't visit any of those souvenir shops where we used to visit for shot glasses with the town's name on them. I couldn't step into any of the restaurants of the pub or pubs along the way. I felt like sitting for a cup of tea somewhere, but the previous night's bitter experience of weeping in the corner of the hotel restaurant bothered me. I was worried to be singled out again. I couldn't, but I continued to walk. Inside the town, there were alleys lined with carefully designed villas along forest roads where one could easily get lost. Granted, one might come across a local tennis court with people running about it, or some cyclists would pass by, or another would be walking their dog, but feel alone nonetheless. One could say that I was alone. The next day, I stood under the shelter of a high mountain beside a river that seemed more real than the stream around it. I stared ahead, but couldn't tell what I was staring at. Was I staring at the houses? I don't know. Was I staring at the mountains ahead? I don't know. Was it the boats that passed by 10 minutes earlier? I don't know. I don't even know what I was thinking about. Could it have been the bride and groom with their bad choice of modest butterfront for their wedding? I don't know. Was I staring at the hotel attendants who refused to wear masks during the peak of pandemic? I don't know. It was around that time that a thought crossed my mind, as if a wound opened and two gaping holes gasped in my heart. Where is she? I asked myself. Where are they? I asked myself. I imagined Parisa walking with me hand in hand in these blind alleys, just like those times, like the long walks in our own neighborhood, like the first time I held her hand near Tehran's West bus terminal. I imagined her in her usual calm quietude, and I imagined Rira running ahead of us and calling back towards us, Mama, Baba, look what I found. And how she would enjoy the sight of her daughter. Maybe Parisa would call back, bring it here, let me see. And maybe I would say, be careful, darling, the rocks are sharp. Maybe writing this book is merely a compilation of ambiguous images. Maybe writing this book is the result of the stagnation and solitude of hearing the light sound of the river that was twisting and turning forward. Whatever it was, I was immersed deep in a conversation with Parisa, hand in hand with her without looking at her face. An internal conversation with her that was never this clear during the past 20 months and 8 days. You didn't try hard enough. Believe me, I tried as hard as I could. I don't know what else I could have done. She looked at me in silence. I knew what she wanted to say. I don't want to share you with anyone else. That was my pact with myself from the first day. You and Rira must be mine forever. I reneged occasionally because I couldn't breathe. But later when I got a hold of myself, I said, you must remain for me only. Could anything be done? Yes, there could. Yes, all of those love letters could be published. It would be possible to be in a glass house more than these. It would be possible to throw all of our private life on the table. All of those films and photos could. It is not necessary. It is not necessary to publish all of those films and pictures. Just look at the path you have walked today. I looked, believe me, I did. What did you say to yourself? I said, where is she? So I could take her hand, so I know I'm not alone. I said, where is she? So we could share the joy of looking at the firecracker running up into the bushes or behind a rock, so we can break out in laughter. You were everywhere, but you weren't. Couldn't you just say that? That I should have been, but... Does that mean I should write? Write about what? The people want a hero. They want a hero in stories. But I'm not a hero of stories, neither are you. You're regular people. I was a regular man and you were a regular woman and Rira was a regular little girl. Nothing in our life was extraordinary or strange. Or am I just imagining, or imagined that it wasn't strange? Wasn't it strange? Wasn't it strange that we didn't reach Toronto? It was, not strange, but horrific. Even the thought of it shakes me to my core. You're not coming, you're not arriving, you're murdered. At least you could have written about that. I could, I can. But all of those stories would be about me. But you are important, you are lost, you are brutally murdered. Why should I keep writing about myself and the pain I endure? You know how to write. You can write in a way. Writing means sitting down. I can't sit still. The time will come. Then you have no complaints? Then you think I should start? If I write it, it'll be a book about the world of the dead for the world of the living. Maybe the other way around, from the world of the living for the world of the dead. She was about to cry in my mind. She knew I can't bear her tears. The way her lower lip would jitter, and I knew her eyes would tear up in a few moments. Just like any two friends who would argue, I was unkind to her, but at this moment, as she's about to cry, I feel that if I don't go and embrace her, I could not forgive myself for the rest of my life. But how? How? I think a man just rode past me on his bike. I flicked my cigarette away, then picked it back up to throw it in a bin somewhere. Resistance was futile. I decided. I reminded myself of how this love story began on the 13th of November, 1999. Thank you very much.